Hello. Today we're going to be talking about how to prepare for a career fair. If you have any questions about this presentation or preparing for a future career fair, you can contact the CNS Career Center at the email address on the screen. So we're going to start with what happens at a career fair. Employers are typically coming to campus if it's an in-person career fair with the goal of meeting students, collecting resumes, and sharing more information about the positions they have available at their company. Students attend in order to find out about these positions, ask questions about what it's like to work for that company, and to potentially set up interviews. In order to prepare for a career fair, these are some steps that you can take. You're going to want to have your resume updated and printed out, available to hand to the employers at the career fair. You're going to want to have your elevator pitch or professional introduction ready to go, so you know what you're going to say with each time with each company. For the companies you want to speak to, you're going to want to research in advance what they do at that company, if they currently have any open positions, and prepare any questions that you have for them. You want to dress professionally, and we'll talk about what that means a little bit later, as well as follow up after the career fair. So you've spoken to a lot of exciting employers, and you want to, set up that professional networking, and you're going to send them a thank you note afterwards. All of these aspects of career fair preparation are what we're going to review together today. So starting with the elevator pitch, you are meeting with an employer, you walk up to their table, and you introduce yourself to them. So this is an example of what that might look like in that picture on the screen. And what do you say at that moment? How do you introduce yourself in that professional setting? So that's where we talk about the elevator pitch. It's a quick way to discuss who you are, what you do, and your goal for the interaction. It's going to help you professionally set up new relationships, connections, and industry contacts. And it's a good way to break the ice, right? Sharing more about yourself and jumping right into the questions that you have for the employer. So this is the specifics of an elevator pitch. You don't want it to be any longer than 30 seconds. You want it to be concise, clear, and succinct. And you want it to be interesting, giving them information that's relevant towards, what you want them to know about you. It should be informative, professional, and polished. So this is an example of an elevator pitch. So I'm just going to read it through for you. Hello, my name is Maxfield Jones, and I'm a junior environmental sciences major at UMass Amherst. I have experience as a lab assistant working at a National Forest Survey, as well as lab work in biology and chemistry and geology fieldwork. In addition, I'm skilled in ArcGIS, and I work as a tutor to help younger students learn GIS. I would like to talk with you about your summer internship opportunity. Can you tell me what skills would make an excellent intern for this position? So with that similar structure in mind, you're going to work on your elevator pitch. And you're going to include some of these details, what feels most relevant and apparent to you, your name, your class and major at UMass, your career or industry interests, any relevant experience you have, whether it's a job, internship, activity, or skills, lab skills, research skills, customer service, Excel, etc. And your conclusion, which I think is really the key piece to a well-tailored elevator pitch, is what question you have for the person you're interacting with. So if you want to work on your elevator pitch, this is a good way to structure it. The next piece of working on preparing for a career fair is researching the companies who are going to be attending. So you can find out all about the career fairs that are happening at UMass by utilizing Handshake, which is a free website for all students to access. When you log into your Handshake account, you'll go to the events section, and that's where you'll find upcoming events, including career fairs. This is an example of a fall 2022 career fair that we hosted. And the homepage has information, including employers attending. And you can see more employers at that blue button to learn more about each of them. So to research the companies, I would say, if you're going to a career fair, try to find about 10 companies that you're interested in learning more about. You're going to want to review their profiles and see if they have any jobs listed. And that's all on Handshake. And then you also want to look at each company's individual website to find out more about the work that they do, what services, products, or developments they're working on, what type of work would an intern or an employee be doing, and then also jump onto LinkedIn and see who's posting on there for their company. Are there any UMass alumni who work for that company? And gather as much information about them as you can. When you're at a career fair, you don't want to walk up to a table and have no knowledge of what that company or organization does. It doesn't look good on you, and it's not a good use of your time at the career fair. And you want to take notes. We recommend using index cards or paper note system. When you're using your phone, whether you're looking up your notes for a company or texting, it always just looks like you're texting. So use some paper notes so that you're still putting your professional self forward and you don't look like you're on your phone at the career fair. So these are some ideas on questions that you might ask at the career fair. If there's something more particular that you want to know about the company or a particular position, you can absolutely ask those. But these are some ways to help you get brainstorming on what types of questions you might ask at the career fair setting. So you can ask for the employer representative's personal experience. What do they enjoy most about working for the company? How did they get started at the company? Or you can turn it a little bit more into discussing what types of candidates are they typically looking for. So how can a candidate distinguish themselves among other candidates for positions they have posted? What would be the biggest challenges for someone for the internship position? What is a typical day like? What characteristics are you looking for in a candidate? And what are next steps if I apply to a position? All of these are great ways to brainstorm and discuss opportunities and network with companies. So questions to avoid: what does your company do? What positions can I apply for? Those are too general. Do you require a background check? All companies require background checks. And at a career fair, it's not the best setting to have those to have those like really important questions to have answered. If you're someone who has a history that might pop up on a background check, I don't think the career fair is the right setting to have that discussion with the employer. Anything related to salary and benefits is not career fair appropriate. That's further down the line when you're interviewing for positions. And you don't want to ask the same questions of the student who asked right before you. So in the career fair setting, there's usually multiple people waiting to speak to the same employer. And to engage the employer, you want to make sure that you are asking unique questions and you're not having them answer the same exact questions as the person before you. You want to stand out to them and you want to have a very meaningful conversation. So you want to dress professionally. There are some locations in the Amherst Hadley area where you can find new clothes for relatively cheap prices, as well as some used clothes. Keep in mind that a suit is not necessary, but you do want to dress more professionally than you would in your typical day-to-day experience at UMass. And these are some examples of what that professional dress might look like for a variety of genders, including some gender neutral options. They are going to look great on professional pants that aren't necessarily jeans. I would say look better. And you want to keep in mind that this is your first impression with the employer. So putting your best self forward and having an outfit that you feel confident in is going to be really important. So career fair etiquette, you want to make sure your phone is off and out of sight. I would ask if employers will shake hands, something since the pandemic that not everyone is doing now. And you want to make sure you're looking someone in the eye when you're speaking with them. You want to keep your elevator pitch fresh and sincere, not feel too practiced or robotic with it. And you always want to offer your resume to your recruiter. You don't want to just leave it on the table and walk away without ever speaking to them. And ask to get their business card so it's easier for you to conduct your follow-up with them. You want to make sure you're not interrupting anyone who is before you or after you, and be mindful of time if you notice that other students are waiting to speak with this employer as well. And the best thing that you can do before heading into a career fair is have a game plan. Research the companies that you want to speak to. have a list of, what order you want to speak to each of the companies. Make sure that you're practicing your elevator pitch, you have notes on what questions you want to ask, and that you have some flexibility on your questions if you hear the student right before you ask a very similar or the same question. You want to bring multiple copies of your resume, including your pen, paper, and notes. And you want to make sure that you are thinking of, who are the companies that you absolutely have to talk to? Who are the companies that you want to talk to, but it would be okay if you missed them? And who are the other companies that if you had the time to speak to, it would be great, but you wouldn't be devastated if you didn't make it to them. So at the career fair, you want to arrive early. Consider if you have friends in the same major who are wanting to attend the career fair as well. Are you just kind of like hanging around while they're talking to a recruiter? It might seem weird that you're just kind of there but not interacting. It might be better to go up to the tables alone and have that personal interaction yourself, essentially. We typically have a floor map that has each of the tables listed with what company is at each table to help you figure out where in the room you need to go. And it's a really good idea to warm up with companies that you're excited to talk to, but you wouldn't be devastated if the interaction was a little awkward or you didn't feel as practiced with them. You want to speak clearly, concisely, and try to avoid talking too fast if you get nervous. And bring your personality. They want to get to know you, your experiences, and what you can offer to that company. So it's helpful if you are listening to, again, the students before you so that you're making sure you're not asking the same questions, and take some notes on what you hear, that interaction, if it's an answer to a question that you want to make sure you remember. If you make a mistake in, introducing yourself or asking a question, it's absolutely okay to pause and reset. The recruiters know that this might be your first career fair, and it's totally okay to be nervous. I mentioned before, you don't want to just drop off your resume. You want to make sure you're having an interaction with the recruiter and asking if they would like a copy of your resume. And then you'll want to ask for a business card of that recruiter and connect with them on LinkedIn and send a follow-up email. So this is the follow-up piece. You attended the career fair, interacted with a bunch of companies you're excited about, and you have your notes and business cards at the end to follow up. You want to send a thank you email to each of the companies you spoke with at least one day after the event. And you want to reference something that you discussed that was specific to you and your conversation with them, and ask any follow-up questions that you might have. If you've submitted an application since you met with them at the career fair, I would indicate that in your follow-up email, and you want to thank them for their time. If you're interested in setting up an informational interview, which is where you are continuing the conversation and continuing to ask them questions about the position or the company, you can ask that in your follow-up email. And keep in mind that the recruiters might not be able to get back to you. If it's a company you're really excited about, you can send another email after your first follow-up. But after that, I would pause and not continue to send the follow-up emails after a second one. So there are also virtual career fairs, and those are typically facilitated through Handshake. And you do virtual video calls with the recruiters, varying in lengths of time. You have to sign up for the meetings that you want to have with recruiters in advance of the fair. And those typically open up about 1 week before the career fair. You want to be early with signing up for the employers that you want to speak to, because they might have a limited amount of sessions that they can offer. Typically, there's group sessions and one-on-one sessions available in a virtual career fair. Sometimes the group sessions are more so the recruiters sharing more about their company. They might have a little presentation and they might accept questions at the end. A one-on-one session is more exactly how it sounds. It's a one-on-one with the recruiter. You want to be ready with your elevator pitch and your questions. You still want to dress professionally, even though it's on a virtual meeting platform like Handshake. And be sure to test your technology before you jump into that career fair setting, making sure you're looking at your background. Are you in a quiet space? Is your Wi-Fi connected? Is your microphone and sound working? So if you have questions about how to prepare for a career fair, stop by our Career Center. in Moral 2, 321, or you can send us an email and ask any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Bye.